This is Sandy Johnson, Judith Myers from John Carpenter's original Halloween, 1978. And I'm on the podcast with Don't Go Out There.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review Podcast, powered by the Big Three Roll-Up. Just want to thank all our fans and listeners. I really appreciate all the support. And we have the great pleasure of having a very well-known actress, best known for her role as Judith Myers in John Carpenter's original 1978 Halloween. Miss Sandy Johnson, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
No. Thank you so much. This is amazing. We like to start out all of our interviews with just asking, what is it that got you steered towards acting?
I suppose it started out with an interest in clothes. I used to love to sew. Well, I still love to sew, but I started out very young, 5 or 6 years old. My grandmother taught me how to sew. So I loved fashion and clothes. My uncle was in charge of a beauty contest in California, and he asked if I would be interested in being in it. So I said, sure, why not? Well, I ended up winning most photogenic, and from that I got into modeling. I was offered some free modeling courses and stuff because of that win. So I really loved it. Then in school, I continued into drama, dance, choreography. Then from there, obviously, into Playboy and films.
So yes, back in your days as a model, you made an appearance on the Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour with Joe Namath. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience? I mean, seeing that written down is cool, but it's even cooler to say that out loud. I can't imagine actually living through it.
It was very cool, actually. I really was a big fan of them anyway, so it was such an honor to be brought on there as a guest. I got to do some skits with them and with the other cast. All of the playmates for that year were on there with me, so we did some fun stuff, some great photo shoots with Joe Namath and the other people. So yeah, it was very exciting.
That's awesome. Can you talk just a little bit about your experiences working on Jokes My Folks Never Told Me? Can you tell us a little bit about that role before you got the iconic role of Judith Myers?
I can. There was a couple of directors called the Woolery Brothers. I don't know if they're still around or not, but they were looking for someone to play a farmer's daughter who had an authentic Southern accent. So even though I was living in California, I still had my Southern accent, which I usually considered not a good thing because the kids would make fun of it. So in this particular time, it actually came in handy, and it ended up getting me that role because I was willing to do the role, which did have nudity in it. And also I had the Southern accent and that farmer's daughter look that he was searching for. So that's how I ended up getting that role. And it was a lot of fun. We had a good time doing it. At the time, the jokes were considered cutting edge. And today, of course, probably no one would laugh. But back in the 70s, they were considered hysterical and over the top.
Okay, are you ready? So if it's all right with you, I'd like to get right into it. The iconic role that of Judith Myers. Can you talk about how'd you get that role?
I got that role because I was with the Playboy agency, and they received a call from the company that was doing Halloween, the babysitter murders, and I was called to the interview, I think because they were looking, most of the scenes in Halloween, of course, involved some nudity. So they were looking for an actress who was within my age range who did not have a problem with that. So I think that's why I got the initial interview. When I got there, I read parts, I think, from probably most of the girls in the film. And they had me scream, which was kind of strange considering we weren't in a studio. We were actually in one of the houses because they were already filming. Well, actually, they'd filmed almost everything except for the opening scene, which of course was my scene. They filmed it last. So it seemed kind of weird screaming in a neighborhood. I kept wondering, what are the neighbors thinking? But in any case, I thanked them for the interview, went home, and the next day or so, I got a call from my agency and said that I had been selected to portray Judith Myers. So that was a very exciting day, as I had not done a horror movie before, only comedy.
Right, right. And we briefly touched on this, before the podcast, but we've had Nightmare on Elm Street alum from Robert Englund to Heather Langenkamp. We've had Friday the 13th alum. You're the first one that we've had the honor of talking to from the original Halloween that we've had on the show. I mean, can you talk a little bit about anything that you remember from being on set or your interactions on set with a very young Jamie Lee Curtis at that time?
I can. I remember that it was a lovely day. It was windy. The set was very busy because, as I mentioned, it was the very last scene shot, and they were having to take the house that had been all disheveled and old looking, that, was 20 years later, whatever it was, and make it back to the time when Judith was young and Michael was a child. So they were fixing it up. And so I remember they were just like going through and hanging pictures and fixing things. So it was very busy. Then there was John Carpenter and Deborah Hill, and we were going through the lines with my boyfriend. And so we were sitting on the couch, and he was just talking about he wanted it to just kind of be fun and flirty and just having a good time, nothing too serious, just happy that my parents weren't at home and we had a little time to fool around. So, and my brother was around someplace. So I remember we ran through it a few times. They were explaining how they wanted it, the feel, the staging, where they wanted us, at what point they wanted us to go upstairs, and what order, etc. When we got upstairs, Deborah and John were demonstrating how they wanted the stabbing to take place, how they wanted me to turn around, when they wanted me to fall, and how, and just all the, the logistics of it. So right. I remember all of that quite well. They were very good at explaining what they wanted. I felt comfortable with it. Then we kind of went through it several times because it was a very long shot. The camera starting at the road, it's a super long shot. So we did practice several times, but we ended up actually doing only 2 takes. We got it in 2 takes. So that was pretty good. Then the first time that when we were going through it, even though we weren't actually doing the takes, I was still doing the blood pellets and the falls and stuff. And they were, who I can't remember who it was, but somebody was wiping me down each time, and they were kind of rough. And so Jamie Lee was in the trailer with me, and she said, "Would you like me to help with that?" So she was kind enough to take over whoever was being rough and help me clean off the blood each time between the scenes. So I remember her for that, how sweet that was of her and how much I appreciated it. So that's really the only memory I have from her that day on set, because I obviously was focused on what I was doing. But that was a fun day, and it turned out to be a good shot. And of course, I never really saw it until our premiere, but it was a lot of fun to shoot. It was a little scary upstairs. Whenever I knew that they were coming up, I could hear them coming up the stairs, and it was dark, and I knew that they were going to come around the corner and stab me. So it was a little scary because everything was quiet this time. So anyway, yeah, it was quite an experience.
Oh, wow, I can imagine. So was there a realization or this moment maybe sometime between 78 and even now that where you realized, okay, wow, Halloween is this huge, gigantic success, and I was part of that, and everything that kind of comes along with that?
Well, the interesting thing was when I left California. I left California and left acting and all of that because my parents passed away. And I was still very young, and I was really close to my parents. So this was a really hard time for me. So I ended up just kind of dropping everything, and I just left. I ended up first in Oregon for a little while, and then I came back to Texas, where the rest of my family was. At the time, I still had 4 sisters, uncles and aunts and stuff. So I came back here. I ended up deciding to be a teacher. I ended up teaching for quite a while, science teacher, special needs kids. And then I ended up retiring from that a few years ago.
Congratulations.
So just, kind of living life. And I make bling and some other things. I'm a seamstress. So I was still doing some things for people.
Awesome.
But I really had left acting behind, really hadn't thought much about it, never really went to see any other movies related to Halloween. So I just kind of left all of that. And then one night I was playing Words with Friends with my best friend, and I got this text from a man named Rick Enriques. And I thought, that's weird. I don't know who this is. And he asked me if I was the Sandy Johnson that had been in Halloween. And I just thought, wow, that's a really random question that I hadn't thought about for years. And so I said, yes, who is this? And he explained to me that he was an agent and that he had been looking for me for a long time. And he said, you can't hear me, but I'm hooping and hollering right now. And so I really didn't have any idea that Halloween was a big success, known around the world. I had no idea.
Oh, wow. So
he started to tell me this, and he said, do you realize that you have thousands of fans, that Halloween 1 is really an iconic film, that fans would love to meet you? And I'm just thinking, who is this guy? Why is he getting a hold of me? I really just thought he was some nut coming across my social media in the middle of the night. But he said, look, you can go to my Facebook. You can see my company, Iconic Ink Management. You'll see that I handle over 100 other clients. And you can just start looking and Googling Halloween and see for yourself, Google your name. So I said, okay, I'll do that. So I finished my game with my friend, and I just started to do that. And I was just like, oh my God, this guy is telling me the truth.
Wow.
So it was just like an overnight thing. I went from having no clue to finding out that there were fans worldwide for Halloween, that it had become an iconic film, it was just like, wow. So I woke up in the morning, and it was still real. It was still on Facebook and stuff.
This isn't really a question. It was just more of I just wanted to state that Carrie Henn, that played Newt, the little girl on Aliens, the second Aliens, she kind of followed, it sounds like we interviewed her, and it sounds like a lot of the same path that you did. She got out of acting pretty much after that role, and she went into teaching. She's not retired yet, but I think she's pretty close, and she went about the same way. She just now started realizing that people still love that movie, and kind of got on Cameo, I think, to talk to her fans and stuff. So that's really neat that you guys kind of parallel a lot of the same path there.
Yeah, that is interesting. A lot of the people actually didn't believe me when the first article came out. Dread Central, I think, did the first article. And some of the people in the comments said, oh, that can't be. Surely she knew, and all of this. And it was the truth. I had no idea. There was no reason really for me to know. I was just in a totally different path in life, and mostly just concerned about raising kids and teaching kids, not horror movies.
Right.
Miss Sandy, you kind of touched on this a little bit, but I'm just kind of curious. Can you talk to us about your experience at horror conventions? You know, you said you were pretty clueless of how big Halloween had gotten. How did it make you feel, you know, when you're sitting at your booth and you have a line full of fans? And if you don't mind, do you have any funny stories, maybe your funniest or your weirdest thing that you've ever seen at a convention?
Well, I had never really even heard of a horror convention. So I really didn't really know what to expect. I Googled it some and I sort of got a feel for it. But I had no idea that when I got there that people were going to be lined around the Pasadena Convention Center and that there were going to be so many people. And when I went in, I saw that they had set up a table for me with a poster and a banner and photos and everything. And when I sat down and they opened the door, it was just like this rush of energy. And all of these people were just like walking so fast and, you know, going to the lines they wanted to go to. And my line just got really long, really fast. And I was just I was leaning out, looking down this long line of people and just going, oh my God, this is so crazy that all these people have come here to see me. And it was one of the more amazing days in my life. I mean, I never felt there was so much love. I mean, I got so many hugs. Everybody was so happy to meet me. It was truly amazing. And I had the best time. My agent, when it was finished after a couple of days, he said, you know, not everybody wants to do these after they've done one. So, you know, what are your thoughts? Do you want to do another one or not? I said, hell yeah. I'm going to love this.
Absolutely.
So I do love it. I'm continuing to love it.
Hey, and I'm not where I can give you a hug, but that's about how I acted when Nico texted me and said, you know, we got Sandy Johnson from Halloween, and I was like, what? Wait, what? Really? I was super impressed. I was fanboying out there for sure.
Cool. Well, I guess the funniest stories have been, you said something funny. I guess the funniest stories have been the fanboys that have come up and just blurted out something totally inappropriate.
Oh, wow.
and then they're like turning red and purple and, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And it was just, I guess those were some of the funniest times, was just watching the fans. I don't know. They're great. I love them.
Okay, so stepping away from Halloween just a little bit, and for a second anyway, you followed up Halloween with kind of some comedic roles. You did Gas Pump Girls, and is it HOTS or HOTS? I don't really know if it was just abbreviation, but in Gas Pump Girls, you co-starred with Kirsten Baker from Friday the 13th Part 2. Can you talk a little bit about that? That's really cool.
Yes, Gas Pump Girls was totally fun to make. We had a blast. Kirsten was absolutely precious. All the other girls on there were so fun. The guys were funny. The script, I thought, was lighthearted and fun. Just a silly story, you know, about Saudi Arabian oil mogul who just is trying to bully a guy, just a small guy that owns a gas station, her uncle. So it was just a fun film. We had a lot of fun. There was lots of music on set with dancing, and yeah, it was great. I still love comedy, so it was a lot of fun to have a good role in that. I had a very good role in it. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I was happy to have been able to do that one.
Yeah, and you touched on this a little bit, and you talked about your long hiatus to teach and all. Is you know, when you found yourself looking to get back into acting? I mean, is that something that always sticks with you, or did you find yourself touching base with an acting coach to kind of hone your skills back in, or anything like that?
Well, in answer to your other question, it's called HOTS.
Oh, okay, yes, ma'am.
So, and that one was also fun, about sororities. So if people haven't seen that one, that's another lighthearted one. Also had a good role in, some fun stuff. So it's a good one. But coming back to the future, I definitely felt that at first I was just doing the cons, and people wanted me to do social media, so that I went on and I did Instagram and Facebook. And I've just got so many friends and fans on there now. So then they started saying, well, you should make another film. So I thought about it and I said, well, you know what? I'm not dead yet. And so I did. I reached out. I found a coach who's in Hollywood. His name's Gabriel. He's excellent. He's a fabulous actor and a wonderful coach. So I have been working with him virtually now for a couple of years, which has been a ton of fun. And I have done one cameo so far that's actually been filmed. I was supposed to do a part in a film in UK last year, but of course we all know what happened to that. I am supposed to do it this year, fingers crossed that I get to go to UK this time for the Love of Horror, and to do that film right before that convention. And then I have some other directors that are interested. I can't really talk about those yet, but I think there'll be some more films coming up. So yeah, I'm definitely working on it and trying to get ready for those.
Awesome.
Awesome. Yeah. Maybe these might be some of the productions you can't even talk about yet, but it looks like you have two projects either filming or in pre-production. Volps, Lust for Revenge, and Creeps at the Gym. Is there anything you can tell us about your involvement with those, or is that still hush hush secret?
No, I can talk about those two. The Volps Lust for Revenge is part two of Volps the prologue.
Right.
And the director is Hungarian, the movie's Hungarian, and he sent me a clip, well, actually the full clip of the prologue. And I looked at it and I thought, wow, this is really good. The cinematography was great. The story was great. It's about a man who gets revenge on animal abusers. And being a tremendous animal lover, I just thought, wow, that's an interesting story. If you're going to get even with somebody, there's one for you.
There you go.
So anyway, the acting was so good. I just thought it was excellent. So I wrote it back and I said, wow, thanks for sharing that with me. That's excellent. I really loved it. So he said, well, how would you like to do a cameo in the next step of it, which is going to be Volps, The Lust for Revenge? And I said, I would love that. It's a great film. So that's what happened. I end up playing the mother in a video chat. I'm talking to my son, who unfortunately is one of those animal abusers, but I play his mother for this video chat. So it was a lot of fun to do. And I'm pretty sure that the film is going to be very good. So I'm looking forward to that coming out maybe later this year, maybe early next year. They're filming it now. The other one, Jim Creeps, that is a working title. I don't know what the final title will be, but it's being done by Great Northern Productions as a UK company. They also did a film called Pumpkins, which can be seen on Amazon Prime, I believe. Good film. I enjoyed it also. And a fun, kind of interesting film. So anyway, they got a hold of me. I also watched their film, really liked it. And they said that they had written a role for me in it with me in mind, and that I would be a massage therapist and a kind of a, what's the word? Kind of a hippie, kind of crazy, not everything in place in your head kind of girl.
Okay.
And so I said, well, that sounds like fun. I could do that. So that's the one that I'm waiting to see what's going to happen with the UK. So anyway, those are the two things that I definitely have lined up.
Awesome.
I hate to bring up Halloween again, but I just have to ask you, because I listened to a couple other interviews you've done, and I would like our audience to be able to hear this as well. What was the process of the producers, directors from the Halloween 2018 seeking you out, for permission to use your archival footage? And do you have any thoughts on Halloween 2018? I know you said you like that mask. I remember that, and I love that mask as well.
Right.
I do. I love the Halloween 2018 mask. I really, really liked the movie as well. It scared the hell out of me, just like the original. There are some scenes in it, for instance, the one where they're at the sanitarium or whatever it is, and they're all outside with the reporters and they hold the mask up. That whole scene just totally creeped me out. It was really good. And when he takes the mask out of the trunk, I love that one too. Those are two of the ones that really stuck with me. And I also love the house, Jamie Lee's house, with all the doors that close and the kitchen island that twists around, all that kind of stuff. I love architecture, so that's pretty cool. But it was interesting that my agent, when he found me, he said, is it okay if Blumhouse gets a hold of you, because they've been looking for you just like I have, because they wanted to use the archival footage in 2018, but they can't do that without your permission. So I said, okay. I didn't even know they were going to make a Halloween 2018, but okay. So they got a hold of me. They were super nice. And not only did they reward me for letting them use the footage, but they invited my husband and I out to the premiere. So we got to walk the red carpet, which was just unbelievably amazing. We had a great time. And so, yeah, they said that if it had been like, they had found me, if my agent had found me like 2 weeks later, it would have been too late because they were wrapping up the film. So I got snuck in there just like right at the last. So I was really happy that happened. It was fun to see it in there.
That's awesome. I'm so excited for the sequel to that one coming out this year, Halloween Kills. I'm really excited for that one. Miss Sandy, I really appreciate you joining us. Before we end the call, is there anything else you'd like to maybe shout out or plug, maybe your social medias or anything?
Sure. My social media, my Instagram is Unicorn Sandy J. And the reason why I use unicorn is because when my agent found me, he said that I was his unicorn. I was this mythical, magical creature that he thought he would never see. And so he nicknamed me his unicorn. So that's why I have unicorn on all my website. My website is unicornsandyj.com, and then Unicorn Sandy J on Instagram. On Facebook, it is The Real Sandy Johnson. So I'm on all of those almost daily. I try to visit with the fans as much as I can. And several photo shoots for them. I post a lot of the pictures from the photo shoots that I've done specifically for them. And I would like to thank my agent. He's awesome. He totally rocks. I wouldn't be here without him. And his name is Rick Enrique. Just fabulous guy. Totally love him. So yeah, I love the fans. And now I have 2 new ones.
Yes,
absolutely.
Appreciate. And I do hope to meet you guys. I have some cons coming up. Flashback in Chicago. I have Main Street Shock Fest, I think it's called, in Pennsylvania, Waynesboro. I'm going to be in San Antonio at Six Flags in August 5th through 8th, I think.
Ooh, it's going to be hot.
UK. So, and I have several more. I just can't announce them yet. So it's going to be a good year of seeing fans.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. And I just wanted to say one thing. I mean, I know Nico's gotten a chance to do this with one of our guests before as it related to him, but I haven't gotten a chance to, and I wanted to take the opportunity to while I could, if you didn't mind. I wanted to just tell you that, and it's Halloween, the first Halloween, has a special place in my heart just because, my mom talked about it growing up and kind of got me into horror movies, just hearing about her going to the theater and her experience seeing that movie. And then, her having the same sort of house, and some stuff. And so it would creep her out as a little girl. And so 20 years later was exactly 20 years, when Halloween H2O came out, and I was old enough to finally go to the theater and sit down and watch, basically the follow up at that time to the original Halloween. And so it's something that just always holds a special place in my heart. So I just wanted to let you know that the film that you were part of and that you made so special to everyone was definitely something that was special to me as well.
Aw. Well, thank you so much. It's so interesting that so many of the fans, especially the Halloween fans, they saw Halloween at a really young age, like 6
Yeah.
to 9. And I'm just thinking, wow, I mean, I would have never guessed that. And it's that age group that seemed to be the biggest fans, the ones that were really young. And I just find that really interesting. I would have never guessed that.
Yeah, I don't know what that says about us, but you're absolutely right. It's interesting. There's no doubt.
Well, it didn't work you guys too much because I certainly love you all.
Well, thank you so much.